Hello and welcome to Center of Weirdness, the weird podcast about very weird stuff, but mostly we're just talking about TV episodes. I'm Josh, and with me as Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
Hey, Josh, believe it or not, I'm talking on air.
Wow, nice. Very nice. So if you've been listening for the last couple episodes, you know that we were in the middle of a Summer Nights series where we were discussing Knight Rider, and specifically the episodes featuring the sort of evil doppelganger, Garth. But because it is American Independence Day and we're very pro-America here on the podcast, there's no problems at all with this country. It's the best country in the world. We decided to take a little break from that and talk about something that is truly, wholly American. And that's why this week on the show, in a very special episode, we're discussing Greatest American Hero.
We've wanted to do this one for a while. Once again, this is just an excuse based on timing and funny name stuff. But
sure.
I think this is a good combination with the Knight Rider episode because this, nothing else, this is two of the prime examples of 80s theme songs for TV shows.
Absolutely. Yes. I was saying when we were watching this that I had really, I had the, again, like Knight Rider, I had the barest of understandings of what this show was. I knew it was a guy who had like a superhero suit. I had forgotten that it was from Aliens, which was really interesting to rediscover, and that it was kind of goofy. But then, of course, I knew the theme song primarily because George uses it as his answering machine message in an episode of Seinfeld, and that's really the only connection that I had to the show. So it was fun to hear it, and it's such a weird era of television where you could just have this easy listening jam be your theme song for this show
for like a minute and a half.
Yes, the 80s really was the era of just long ass opening themes.
You had to find out everyone who was involved in the project from the very start of the show. That's very important to you, especially when your runtime's so long. But this one, I'm sure you've heard the song, but you forget outside of the chorus, which is so famous, that it opens up as the most easy listening dentist chair song you've ever heard. I had a coworker at one of my first jobs in America. He had this was 2000, so early days of putting a bunch of MP3s on a CD-ROM or something, right? Before MP3 players or whatever. And he would bring in his disc full of about 5 hours worth of music that he would play in order every single day. Younger than me, but it was just one 1980s easy listening song after another. And I know exactly the point in the day when, believe it or not, I'm Walking on Air was going to play. So more than bringing me back to 1982 when I was 4, this immediately brings me back to 2004 when I was entering in how many coins were put into a condom machine in bathroom vending.
Yeah, for full breakdown of that story, I think you have to go back to the Predictocast episode where we talked about that ghost high school, that guy in high school who was a ghost or something who kept trying to assault people.
Yes.
Remember that movie? Whatever that was called.
That was, oh God. Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Go back and listen to all our episodes. They're all weird. They're all movies you've never heard of.
Yes, exactly.
We have the most eclectic back catalog of episodes of movies of any podcast.
Yeah. I think it was called School Spirit.
That sounds about right. It sounds like the concept for a really well-known, famously raunchy 1980s comedy. It's not that at all.
No,
it's not, you don't know it.
Yeah, no, it's bad. But what is actually good is Greatest American Hero. I was kind of unsure because whenever you go back to watch these shows, they are obviously very specific to the era in which they were created, and so you kind of have to put yourself in that sort of frame of mind. And this is from an era before I was born, so I don't kind of know everything that was what it was like in 1981 because I wasn't around yet, but it still is pretty funny. Like it's listed as a comedy drama, and I think they do a decent enough job of kind of riding that line. Like it's not a full-on comedy, but
Like
it's not.
the stakes are real to the characters.
Yes, it's got comedic moments in it and comedic like elements, but it's not just a full-on like it's not a full-on kind of like because of the whole like FBI CIA angle of this. It's not like a get smart kind of thing where that was just played solely for laughs. Like this, there's still some dramatic tension, I guess, such as it were, in this kind of show. And
I think it's very interesting in a contrast to a Knight Rider, where you also have
sure.
a team with a office lead, a you know their woman who is helping them out and is also the kind of the romantic person for the
Yeah.
main character, and the office person sets them out on a mission, and then in Knight Rider's case, the car helps. In this case, the suit helps.
Yeah.
Except for Knight Rider takes itself pretty seriously. They don't really give a shit about what's happening. There are some jokes. In this
Yeah.
one, it's like if Knight Rider, the car, if Kit was a fucking moron. Like the car was dumb. And then and instead of the boss being generic British soft-spoken guy who seems sophisticated, it's somebody who's just fucking yelling every line.
Yeah. Robert Culp as Bill Maxwell, our sort of second lead, is like moments from exploding at all times, and it's so great. And he gets so
it's
like
timeless, really
into it. He's so into what's happening, and he just wants to solve it. Like he's not angry at what he's doing. Like he gets kind of angry at being on the case, but then when he realizes it's actually something, he gets very excited about trying to figure it out. And it's like, this guy just loves his job.
Yeah, like they make fun of the fact that they're a disaster duo. They break cars all the time. They're everything kind of goes wrong for them. And his main skill as a FBI agent is, or whatever he is having a guy with a super suit. Like he doesn't seem to be able to do anything on his own that well. He constantly fucks up the entire episode and almost dies like 4 times. But like literally almost dies. He falls out of a building. But like he's so amped. He starts at 10 and then he get out of 10 and then he kind of hits 11 out of 10 for a while. And then he's at 12 out of 10 for a while. And it's like, he's just machine gunning everything. He's wired up. He's confused. He's as upset at the plot not making sense as we are.
Yes.
Because really, it makes no sense until the very end. They're like, surprise, this is what was going on all along. You didn't solve it. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, we're just breaking it down for you.
We're just going to break it down for you. You guys actually did a really good job, and you don't even know why you did a good job. And I think the show's in on it because then they like have him like bragging like, this turned out great. And like in a way of like, it had no reason to turn out great. You just got lucky that you fell into what was supposed to be a punishment case, but it turned out to be one that helped your career. And I think he's in a role in so many of these shows where the gimmick is the costume is William Katt's main character, but like it'd be so easy to have somebody just kind of like straight man to it, and instead like Ralph is kind of more the straight man in the costume, which is funny because he's also pratfalling constantly. But Bill is so ungodly over the top.
Yeah.
And then like Pam as their other person on the team seems like fully aware this whole thing is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really helps. And then they have some students because Ralph is a teacher and he teaches a bunch of high school students who look older than him.
Well, okay. So he is a substitute teacher of, and this is what it says on the Wikipedia for the premise of the show, that he's a Los Angeles public school substitute teacher of remedial education high school students, which means that they are not the brightest kids, clearly. And I think that they chose to give them the direction of how to play these dim-witted students by saying, just pretend that you're from Brooklyn, because that's how all the kids act.
And like, that's not how any of them speak. Like, there's a couple different show notes on Hey Talk Like This on this episode, which are very funny. One in particular from possibly the second most famous person on this show, who's just a bit part in this. But like, yeah, these are a bunch of students who are in Burbank. I mean, this is a show that was before you were born, but takes place near your house.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But like, they're to look like they're delinquents and not smart. They're told to speak like you're from Brooklyn, because that's what the dumb kids like Cotter, Welcome Back Cotter, sound like.
Yeah, they sound like sweat hogs, basically. Like,
and there's no reason for it.
No.
One of them's wearing a USC shirt, and he appears to be in his 40s.
They all, again,
he plays a police chief. He plays like a person in that one who's supposed to be a kid. By the time RoboCop comes up, he's office level cop in that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, not like a beat cop. He's already old enough to have gone through the ranks by the time RoboCop comes out.
Yeah, he also, funny enough, he plays a cop in Seinfeld. But like, this is that era, we've talked about it before, of the sort of late 70s into the mid to late 80s, where you could not tell what age anyone was. It was impossible to know for sure, because like, they could be 22, they could be 45. It is impossible to know.
It's fantastic.
Like, they were the same. Michael Perry, who's one of the students, is basically the same age as William Katt. Like, they're basically the same age. And
Perry looks a little bit younger than the other three.
Yeah.
And I think he might actually be. It doesn't help that William Katt is at this point baby-faced. So like, he looks younger than his age, and all the kids look, they're, mid-20s.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, Michael Perry is like 7 years younger than William Katt, but he looks maybe 7 years older.
Yeah, I would say that. Ralph Hinckley, William Katt's character, famous for his hair. Wow, it looks fake. It's hard. It
does.
It's hard to put that into words.
And it's real, but it looks fake.
He, as an older man with white hair, looks so much more like this is what he should look like.
Yeah.
It is a funny look. I know one of the big stories of this show is that William Katt hated the suit. He wanted out of the show because he hated the suit. It is very funny to me that TV acting back then was such that you could be in a culturally relevant show and the star of such show, and a show that people are going, thanks to the theme song, are going to remember for years and years.
Sure.
And you would almost want out immediately because the premise was a little too silly and you didn't like the costuming. If to be this famous now in a world of a fractured attention span of everybody, too many options, unless you're on Wednesday, which is apparently the most watched TV show in human history, but no one talks about. Anyone would kill for this level of fame. Like, anyone anyone at his level especially would be like, I get to be a superhero in a comedy that's successful, will run 3 seasons, and I have this marketable, I could use this marketable look the rest of my life. And instead he's like, oh, fuck it, I don't like how this fits. It's uncomfortable. I think I look silly. I want off the show. It's like, wow. Just no value in it. It's just like, it's just funny. Like TV was considered like such low work compared to movies.
Yeah. He, I guess just, it's interesting that he didn't, like, he wanted to get out of it. And it's such an interesting thing to think about now. Like, we talked, I think, a little bit about it on like the last episode on Knight Rider, where like what we expect from television now is very different, and like actors that you've only seen in movies who show up in TV shows, it's great because you're like, oh, cool, we get to spend more time with this person, and like they're deigning to do a TV show. Like Meryl Streep, you know, one of the greatest actors of her generation, and she's like popping up. She's on the new season of Only Murders in the Building. You know, like Steve Martin and Martin Short, two comedy legends, are on a TV show. Like it's, you know, it's a thing that you can just do, and it's not a big deal anymore. And in like the days of the 80s, it was like, oh, my career is over before it's even begun because I'm doing a television show.
Yeah, like it's like, oh, I'm on a hit television show, but I'm now a television actor.
Yeah.
But like if you had this kind of, I gotta say, like this, if you had a show with this kind of cast chemistry, which is, you know, at least from this episode appears to be really, really strong, you could go a long way with this concept. You could go at least 5 seasons strong.
Apparently, I'm seeing here from Kat's Wikipedia that he auditioned for the part of Luke Skywalker.
I mean, he has a Luke Skywalker-esque thing.
Yeah, I could see it. Like he kind of has that sort of G shucks, good golly kind of vibe about him. So like
he likes clowns.
It could have worked.
Yeah, I mean, his entire gimmick in this is G golly.
Yeah.
Very interesting that like this show ends with like his secret identity coming out, because people who know him just see him in the suit.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. So let's talk about the let's set up the episode that we are discussing, because you know how we do it on this show. If you've listened at all, we like to go through these shows and try to find the episode description that just tickles us the most. And it was this one, episode 12 of season 2, originally aired on February 3rd of 1982, 3 years before my birth. And it's every time I say that, I just picture you shriveling into dust a little bit more.
You just think about the fact that every time you do that, you're just telling your co-host you're that much closer to death.
It's called Just Another 3-Ring Circus. And we got 2 different descriptions. So I'm going to read mine, and then I want you to read yours. And those 2 combined convinced us that this was the episode that we should absolutely watch. So mine is: Ralph takes a job at the circus as a human cannonball while trying to help Bill bust a crime ring that involves a phony dating service. So that just gives away the entire plot of the show.
See, and Tubi has just a one-liner. That's how they tend to roll with it. It's a picture of one of the students who are not important as the thumbnail. And it just simply says, Ralph joins a circus to investigate the disappearance of a Polish clown. And I want to know, having watched the full episode,
yes,
was it important at all
that
he was Polish?
Absolutely not. It's the exact same situation that we had in the Knight Rider episode, where we were like, oh, the brother must still be alive. We're going to get a reunion scene at the end. Like, he's going to be okay. And like, no, he's dead. This clown, just dead. He's dead after the first scene.
What? But why is he dead?
No clue.
I have, like, the more I think about it, which is very little, I have thought about it. But like, having seen the end of the episode and having explained to me in a way of like, nothing, we didn't do anything to lead to this. We just happened. Here's just an explanation of what happened. You just happened to walk in on it.
Was Yuri maybe a CIA guy? I think that's the only explanation.
That's what I assume it is.
But I don't remember them saying that. So maybe they did and we missed it, but like.
But nothing what they were doing was about killing CIA guys. They just wanted the names of other
I think the thing was, I think that Yuri was a CIA agent that was there because he was spying on the Vanderpumps or whatever their name was. Vandercleaves. What are they? They're Vanderlands. That he was onto the Vanderlands, and he was working for Biff Anderson, and then they found out about him being onto them and trying to stop them, so they killed him in order to be able to continue their plan, which was to rob Biff Anderson of all of his tapes. I think,
and it's really confusing how this all got there. And I'm really, and any explanation I give to you of that plot during this episode is going to be half baked, because I'm not exactly sure why it happened. And like, hey, lists of vulnerable agents in where they are undercover. No big deal. Keep it in a room, keep it on tapes, keep it next to your toilet, give it to the Saudis. It doesn't matter.
Right.
They aren't that important. I don't know why they were making such a big deal about it. Anyone could have it. I could have it. Hunter Biden could have it. Hillary could have it. Anyone. If it could happen to him, it could happen to anyone.
So we open this episode with a great sequence, which is the Polish clown that we previously mentioned running around and getting chased and beaten up by ninjas.
It's funny.
I mean, they're not technically ninjas. They're just kind of dressed like them.
We should have realized what was going on when one of them used a zip line to come down to get him.
Yeah.
But we did figure that part out very quickly when we were told that someone comes in who's very suspicious and mentions that they're a flying troop. And
yeah, well, they make no like attempts to conceal who the villains are. It's like it's just what they're doing. I think it's kind of like the where you sort of know who the bad guy is, but you're not really sure what they're doing or why they're doing it, and so that's kind of the mystery. I feel like like you might know, like it's like a Columbo thing. You know who did it, but you don't know why. So we find out that this clown is Yuri Jovanovic, and he is important. And Bill Maxwell, who is our sort of FBI agent, that we've already talked about, played by Robert Culp, he gets put on the case of trying to find this clown by his supervisor, Les Carlisle. And Les Carlisle has the bluest eyes of any person. He is the male Meg Foster. His eyes are so blue. They are scary. And he puts him on this thing, and he basically says, find this clown and do it. He kind of chastises him a little bit because, like you already mentioned, I guess Bill wrecks a lot of cars.
Yes. I mean, this is a very interesting dynamic in that, like, they both are very animated in how they talk, but in different ways. It doesn't seem it's just one of those things, like, I'm watching a TV show and neither of these people seem normal, and that actually is always kind of that grabs the eye. Yeah. Here's an interesting tidbit about William Bogart. July 2016, during the convention that nominated Donald Trump as the Republican presidential candidate, Bogart appeared in a reprise of the ad "He Scares Me." So apparently he's very Republican and very Trumpy. Oh,
so he's like, so the ad "He Scares Me" was not about how he was scared of Trump.
There was a thing he did called the Confessions of a Republican ad in 1964, and this was a
see
spoof
that
on it. Yeah.
Oh, so he's like okay with it.
I'm gonna guess they're talking about Hillary scares her.
Oh, interesting. Wow, that makes me dislike him quite a bit.
Yeah.
If that's the case. So we get a little scene of
he was also the neighbor act character on Small Wonder, but I don't remember him from that episode.
Oh no, I don't remember him either.
All I remember about was the tacos or burritos. The fridge full of burritos, and they were so bad, so shitty white people burritos.
Actually, so maybe I'm maybe we're wrong about Mr. Bogart here.
Maybe was he trying to tell people too that Trump was actually the one to be afraid of?
Well, so it's basically it looks like it's an ad. It was an ad paid for by Lyndon Johnson's campaign, where the Republican talked about being afraid of Barry Goldwater. So I think that he probably reprised it for Hillary. And yeah, basically he got interviewed again on on Rachel Maddow in 2016 and drew comparisons between Goldwater and Trump. And then he appeared in a remake produced by the Clinton campaign. So he is a Republican, but apparently he had some common sense.
There were, it's hard to remember that, but, up until November 2016, there were a good chunk of them which were allowed to not like him.
Yeah.
And then even ones that he made fun of their wives.
Yeah. Okay, I'm back on the William Bogart is good train. I mean,
or he's at least Jeb Bush, where he didn't come back around.
Yeah, he's not the we might have differences of opinion on certain things, but maybe he's not as monstrously vile as some modern day Republicans can be.
Also,
that's right. We're
dead.
Getting political. It's July 4th. It's Independence Day.
If you are listening to this show and you support people who are out after our children, after women, after people of color, after all the horrible things they've done, including attacking Pride Month, go fuck yourself. Turn off this podcast. I hate you.
Hey, there we go.
So that's just a little blanket statement. If you're mad about that, and I don't think there's many left listening, let alone people who would actually believe that. But if you are, and somehow you listen to this and you're like, oh, I don't like that opinion, go fuck yourself. I don't like you. I don't want you to hear my voice.
I'm putting some patriotic music behind all of that.
As the Canadian says it.
That's right. I'll put O Canada back there.
Thank you. You can do that for like everything I say on the show, honestly.
That might get annoying. We do get a scene of Ralph with his class. He's very upset with them because they did poorly on the Ohio state tests, which I fucking hated when I was in school. But ours were not Ohio. Ours were the Iowa state tests.
They called them the Iowa state tests.
They did, and he corrected them. So maybe that was a joke, but
maybe it's like it's copyrighted.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I remember having to take those, and it's like that's kind of how your school got funding or something. And I was like, why does Iowa get to decide what we need to know?
My daughter loves standardized testing.
Yeah,
she, for whatever reason, she just is like, this is the best day. I get sometimes they let us have candy while we do it because they want the kids to score well to get the funding.
Yeah,
she gets. I think because this is not me bragging, but I think because she actually brings up the score of the school, she gets kind of gets whatever she wants around that time.
Oh, she's the only one who gets the candy. She thinks it's everybody, but it's just her.
Her classes, I think, do.
They're all their hopes and dreams are riding on how Holly does on these tests.
Luckily, she gets in the 99th percentile and everything. So
okay.
I get the results in the mail like a year later.
Humble
and
brag.
I don't know what to do with them.
Put them on the fridge, my man.
No. The fridge is for magnets. Fun magnets from around the world.
So he gets a little moment with his class. He's a little upset. He's leaving and he's wearing we noticed when he gets outside, it's hard to notice in the school, but when he's outside, he's wearing like this purple velvet, like maroon. It's like maroon or purple velvet jacket, which is insane.
It struck me all of a sudden that every teacher in a show in the 80s, comedy or drama, are always wearing a sports jacket and dress shirt and tie. I don't remember a single male teacher that I ever had who ever wore a tie to school.
I think I only had like one male teacher in high school. In high school.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's so.
Great. It's a woman's work, says the state you grew up in. That's lady work. That's not possible from where you grew up, which we're not naming at the moment. We have named on the podcast many times.
Yeah, no, I had a pretty good. I mean, I think I had a pretty good group of teachers. I think they were, they fostered my my love of learning, and I talked about the X-Files with my science teacher every Monday.
That's where you've learned. That's where graphic design became your passion.
That's right. So, Bill pulls up here in his brand new service car, which is a bright red Beetle, which he's upset by, but it looks awesome.
It looks awesome. It looks like the red Beetle what's his name from
Bumblebee.
Bumblebee, because he came in 2 colors in the 80s. So it's the red version of him, not Cliffjumper. You could buy a red Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Which Bumblebees actually aren't red, but it looks really cool. It'd be really hipster to have today.
Oh yeah.
Everyone considers it a huge insult, and eventually they crush the car at the end.
That's right.
Under the ass of a elephant.
Yeah, I was wondering, like the feels like maybe the writer of this episode had a vendetta against red Beetles. Like he was like, this fucking car. Like maybe he got broken up with in one.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks great. But so he needs Ralph's help on this. He's like, I know it's not like a suit problem, but I still could use your help to try to get this solved so I can get onto some better cases. And so they go to the circus, and we head into Yuri's tent, where Ralph proceeds to take off his clothes so that he's wearing the super suit, which is weird. We never did quite get an answer, and I can't find it anywhere on the wiki that says like he has to not have anything over it to be able to use it.
He strips because, like, in theory, he has it on.
Yeah.
But he has to strip down to it to use it for not even flying or fighting purposes, but just to use his thought bubble powers. There, I can't remember, and I didn't see it written. He can take it off, right? Because he's got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. I mean, although based on the list of powers that he has, which is basically every power, he might be able to just piss in that suit and it gets recycled into energy or something.
Maybe. Like, what does Pam have to do, though?
Yeah, exactly. How does he get down with Pam? I mean, it's unclear.
Well, he can do telepathic stuff, so maybe
that's
can,
true.
He
can, he can kind of go into her brain and do things that way.
The go into your brain sounds a lot worse when you said it out loud than I knew you were going to say it, but at the same time,
Ralph's a real sapiosexual. He loves the brain stuff.
She loves him for his big brain.
Yeah, so according to, again, Wikipedia, again, we're going to this unsourced information, so maybe it's all wrong, but his uniform grants him the powers of flight, super strength, invulnerability, invisibility, precognition, telekinesis, x-ray vision, super speed, pyrokinesis, shrinking, psychometry, which they call holographic vision, which appears in little like kind of thought bubbles, which is pretty fun. And even the ability to detect the supernatural. That's we should have seen if there was like a Halloween episode. He's like, oh, there's a skeleton nearby.
That's pretty great. I love. I want to see like just him versus skeletons.
Yeah, it says that the suit does enable him to fly, but it does not endow him with any particular skill at landing. So he frequently crashes in an undignified, though uninjured heap. And that is kind of the joke.
Yeah, it was stolen by another artist known as Launchpad McQuack for DuckTales.
He has heat and fire resistance, super exhalation that he can use to blow out fire.
Awesome.
He is able to control minds.
Sure.
When he is exposed to plutonium.
Why not?
He can control a dog via hologram.
Of course.
And he can basically can do other things. He also gets strongly magnetized. So
I love that, like, basically his powers are, how do we move the plot along? And that's how this starts, when he like goes and puts on, he just touches the clown stuff. He's really into the clown stuff. He really likes to get up all in that clown stuff. He says he loves clowns. He wants to touch all the clown stuff. Put on the clown stuff, become the clown, get under the skin of the clown. And he just basically like, I have just enough information for you from my vibe powers to move to the next point in the plot, but not enough to actually solve the case. And why? I don't know. Was he getting vibe? Because he has supernatural powers. Like, was he talking to the dead clown?
It's actually, you know what? That's a good point, because we don't know
otherwise
that he's dead yet.
Yeah, it was also precog in that case because he wasn't thinking a place where the clown was at or had been
No.
or was going to be. He was seeing the CIA agent in the future or the present, but like,
but what he was seeing what the clown was thinking of.
He was seeing where the people who killed the clown were going next. So that requires a level of precog rather than like
what if he had like tried to contact the clown and it was just a vision of dirt?
What if it was a vision of a skeleton wearing a clown wig?
So they're kind of poking around, and he does start to put on all the clown. He puts on the clown wig and the nose, and he sees this thought balloon of this person in a room or in a like an apartment, and he says, "I think his name is Biff Anderson." So that gives Bill lots to go on. And he says he likes Yuri. And he kind of knows him because he's in the vibe business. He's just,
and that's the end of like we care about Yuri. Like he makes sure that we know that Yuri is a good guy.
Yeah,
had kids back in Poland.
Yeah,
and he's a Polish clown, and he's dead now. But like, that's it for him. He's not part of the like his whatever happened. Like what happened to him is the general idea. But they're not really searching for him. It's basically what happens at this apartment next is the inciting incident for the rest of the episode, much less than the clown is really.
Yeah. So he finds this matchbook for a phone dating service called 2 on a Match, which I don't quite think works as a name for a thing.
All
Bill,
that friction will make fire.
I mean, that's what Tinder is. Like, you Tinder and you find a match and there's a flame.
Oh, that's what it means.
Yeah, that's what it means. So Bill heads off to try to find this Biff Anderson guy, which they say a lot, that name. It's a funny name. And Ralph proceeds to kind of prance around like an idiot, putting on clown costumes and stuff. And then this woman comes in, and this is Erica Vanderland. And she's part of the Vanderland like trapeze group. They kind of do a lot of little tricks and things on the tight ropes and the bars and all that. And she thinks that he's the new human cannonball. So Ralph kind of goes along with it and decides like, okay, this is my way to sort of figure out what's going on here. And Bill heads over to Biff Anderson's place. And they chat for a minute, but then he doesn't really get anything that he wants. He's like, I don't know where you got my name from, but nothing's going on here, so please leave. And as Bill leaves, those ninjas fly in on hang gliders and rappel into the apartment.
Funny looking. Oh my God, it's fantastic green screen stuff here. Oh, just... They're trapeze artists, so they come in on hang gliders. Oh, it's so good.
Very bright yellow hang gliders, too. Like, people would see that and go, what the fuck is that?
I mean, that had to be so they showed up better against the green screen.
Yeah, the green screen showing footage of, which is only the first time we'll see 1960s stock footage being used in this 1980s television show.
That's so great.
Yeah, so they go in and they grab Biff Anderson and
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
From a movie I did not watch.
And one day we'll get you to watch The Matrix.
No,
and Bill breaks into the room and sees them kidnapping this guy, and they rush up onto the roof, and he tries to stop them.
They're Russian up there.
Yeah, they're Russian up there. And Bill, I will give him credit. He is like unflappable because he yells at them to not leave. He's like, don't do it. And then one of them turns around and shoots at him, and he doesn't move or flinch at all. It ricochets off the building next to him, and he does not react in any way, which is
really impressive for a cult, because I'm sure like there's a 50-50 chance they like back then they actually shot a real bullet at the actor.
Probably. Actually, I might have mentioned this on a previous episode, so if I did, please forgive me for repeating myself. But I did the Warner Brothers studio tour, and one of the things that they told us was that in the early days of gangster movies, they would actually shoot real bullets. And the phrase hitting your mark was all about making sure that you as an actor were in the right place, but that the people firing the guns were also shooting the right spots. And then, oh God, I can't remember the actor, but he was in a lot of gangster movies. And he was one of the first presidents of the Screen Actors Guild, and he basically was like, "Yeah, we're not doing that anymore because I don't want to get killed." I think it was James Cagney. I think.
Of Cagney and Lacey.
Yeah, an 80s cop
everyone show. Back then, incredible physical talents to pull all this stuff off, or in a lot of cases, very hurt.
Yes.
You might have heard of like broken necks and stuff from even the main actors.
Yeah. So Bill does get shot though, like, and that's kind of funny because they sort of play up the fact that he gets shot later because he has like a cast on or not a cast, but he has like a sling on for a little bit, and then they just sort of forget it. They're like, it's fine, he's fine.
It's very professional wrestling of them.
And he gets shot by one of the guys and goes off the side of the building. But Ralph is thankfully there, flies in and grabs him, and they fall pretty unceremoniously into a dumpster, which is very funny.
It is. I do like how he doesn't catch him gracefully like Lois Lane and Spider-Man.
Wow, so many nerds' heads would explode.
No, they love Spider-Man.
I know Lois Lane and Spider-Man. Oh my God!
Hot. Tie her up.
I'm jerking off just thinking about it.
And speaking of hot, he lands like nose deep in Ralph's ass crack.
Yeah. They're 69 in here in the air. It's pretty great. So they take Bill to the hospital, and he gets patched up, but he's very eager to get this case going. So they head off along with Pam, their legal friend, apparently, who I guess dealt with Ralph's divorce. Like attorney Pam Davidson, who handled Ralph's divorce, also encounters the aliens that gave him the suit, and then she agrees on occasion to join Ralph and Bill during missions.
I like her in that she seems very like kind of over the concept of what they have to do as well. Like she goes a little extra mile than she has to in this episode, and seems very annoyed that she did do that. Which this does lead to the funniest character in this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So they head off, and Ralph tells Bill about the matchbook, and then shows tells him like maybe there's some sort of connection, and he's like, I don't know. And they go back to Biff Anderson's place, and the FBI regional director is there, Carlisle, and they go upstairs and they find that everything is back to normal, and there is another person there pretending to be Biff Anderson. They're having a party. Yeah, Biff Anderson #2.
That's what the credits call him.
And this
Who is this guy?
I think he's just another CIA agent.
That's
fantastic. Like he's just a plant there so that they can not raise suspicions, I guess.
CIA agents can fix a window so fucking fast you wouldn't believe it.
There's multiple Biff Andersons in the CIA. And Bill, this leads to a really great moment where Bill starts to question his sanity. Like he's like, that window was broken out. This lock was broken. I don't know what's going on here. He's like starting to they're gaslighting him, and he's like, I'm not having it.
He's playing to the strengths of the character of the actor, because like you want to see this guy breaking down every episode.
Yes, and this leads to another great scene where he's like starting to piece together everything. He's like, something's got to be going on with this circus thing, and definitely there's got to be they're flying in and they're doing trapeze stuff, so they got to be possibly part of the circus. I'm going to go undercover, and you've never seen what I'm like when I'm working from the inside, and I can do all this great stuff. And then it cuts to him being basically a janitor at the circus, groundskeeper.
He's shoveling tiger shit.
Yeah. And so Ralph auditions for the human cannonball, and everybody in this circus seems to be doing some sort of Russian accent or Polish accent or Yugoslavian accent. Like they're all
doing They're all doing the plan, Natasha.
Yes, they are very much doing stereotypical kind of.
But it
Russian
leads to
accents.
the weirdest one.
Yes, it does. We'll get to him in just a second. So while Ralph is getting shot out of the cannon, Bill gets locked in a cage by a man. And
despite all his rage, he's still just a Bill in a cage.
And they release a tiger into the cage.
That is fucking cool.
Yeah, they're just ready to murder this guy immediately.
Just shoot him. That's horrible.
Yeah, they could just shoot him, but I think they want it to look like an accident so they don't raise suspicions.
Well, he can eat the bullet too.
Yeah, just shoot him and then feed him to the tiger. But Ralph, he gets a call from Bill on this little walkie-talkie and swoops in and bends the bars open and then is able to calm down the tiger.
This is after he gets shot. This is after he gets shot out of the cannon for the first time.
Yes,
and every time he's shot out of the cannon, it's comically far.
Yes.
Even there's one time when they're not trying to kill him doing it, they shoot him across the city.
Yes, it's
like at that point, like when he comes back, they should be like, "Wait, how?" I mean, like they do see him bending bars, but like they show this guy and he flew out of the building and into a park. They're not in a park.
No, that's
insane.
It's pretty good. And so we realize now that the Vanderlands are the kidnappers.
Yeah.
And
Vanderpump Rules.
And they were trying to kill Bill. And
remake that movie with this Bill. And no, I know he's dead. Just take footage from Everyone Loves Raymond and just like kind of piece it together.
And they need the floor plan for 2 on a match. And we're like, okay, so they must be trying to steal something from this dating service. There's some sort of secret thing there that they want. And then we get this scene where Pam goes undercover, even though she's using her real name, to this 2 on a match place, and
with her real information.
Yes, with her real information. She talks about being an attorney and having a trial and all this other stuff.
Gives them her real phone number.
That's right.
No, I'm sure the CIA would not have had any problem getting her.
That is true. Yeah, they could find her no matter what. So,
and they do. That's the ending of this episode.
They do. So she goes and talks to this guy who's running the place, who is a real creep and is coming on to her the minute she walks in the door.
Which is an act, but isn't an act apparently.
No, it's not. That's the weird thing. Is it like when we find out later, spoiler alert, that 2 on a match is a CIA undercover op.
At some point, at any point during what they were doing and almost dying, the CIA could have told them something to stop them.
Yes. Like it's very funny that, they kind of push this far, but this guy is hot for her. Immediately, and he's like talking about asking whether she likes sailing, that he's got a boat that she should come on, and he could take her to dinner after he gets off work and really explain how this whole process works. And he lets drop that the person in charge of this whole operation, this whole business, is Biff Anderson. So she's like, okay, interesting.
Biff Anderson.
Biff Anderson. And so she gets videotaped for her sort of dating video that's going to go out onto the services. And, he's talking a real fast game. And so she kind of gets, pushed into doing this. And as she's leaving, she sees Erica Vanderland there, who is also getting hit on by this guy immediately. So it makes me wonder, did he not know who she was?
I'm not sure. Also, apparently the boat thing is like a keyword to, like, maybe they're trying to figure out who she is
for CIA agents.
Yeah, because when she meets the CIA, I assume the CIA agent later, who tries to kill them, pull a gun on them.
Oh yeah, he does talk about his boat too. So that must be like a code word to identify other CIA agents.
I want to stress that I don't think they thought through which characters were CIA, which characters were part of the Russian stuff really that much. Like things just happened to move the plot forward. And also I want to stress it's fine that they don't, because the ending is so just whatever.
Yes.
It's a joke. And it's supposed to be a joke. I know we're usually like, for the sake of comedy, kind of pedantic about a plot of something that doesn't matter. I really think this is supposed to not matter.
No, I don't think so either. And I think that it's just fine for it. Like I totally don't mind, because I actually kind of enjoyed the show. Like it's very stupid, but like I thought it was pretty fun.
It's aged shockingly well.
Yeah, and we get a musical montage here of Bill and Ralph asking a bunch of questions around the circus while a song plays, seemingly by the guy who did the theme song, Joey Scarberry, because it sounds just like him. And he's singing a song about how everybody has secrets and everybody's lips are tight and they're not spilling the beans on anything, and you got to investigate and figure out what's going on. Very specific for this particular moment.
It's anytime there's a vocal song in a TV show is pretty amazing, especially one that's plot specific, especially one that's moment in the TV show specific, not the full plot, just right here, a little vertical slice.
And we get here a quick little scene with Tony Cox, probably the more, I mean, at least for me, one of the more famous actors in this episode. Great guy who's been in tons of stuff. He was in Bad Santa, Friday. I mean, you know this guy. He's great, and he shows up, and he's also doing kind of like a weird Russian accent.
He's doing the thing where you drop certain words in a sentence. But he's not talking in any lilt or twang or what you would call an accent. He's just omitting words. And I've never heard anything like it.
Did you know that he
never heard anything like that?
Did you know that he didn't do the voice, but he was the body movement of that weird little preacher guy in Beetlejuice?
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's incredible.
What a varied career he has.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that.
He has a really long nose in costume at one point of this.
Yes, he looks like one of the weird characters who live in that sort of other space in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Like he's got this weird long, like crazy nose, and it's so strange. But basically, he warns Ralph off of asking about Yuri. So that makes me wonder, was Tony Cox also a CIA agent?
But he's got a Russian accent.
Oh, maybe. So was he in on it?
I mean, everyone in besides apparently the clown who died are in on it, right? Because the boss of the place is trying to kill them too.
That's true.
Is there anyone there not trying to kill them? They're doing a very roundabout way. Once again, they could just go shoot them.
Yeah. It's
or dress up like ninjas and attack them.
Yeah, it's always that idea of like, I really got to make it very elaborate to kill you. I can't just go up and.
It works. I mean, they did try to shoot him at the apartment. He just fell out a window.
Okay, sorry. I was browsing through Tony Cox's filmography. Apparently, he also played Station in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
That I did not know. And I have a famous to nobody Station meme where the top text is Station, and bottom text is also Station.
I did not know that. That's incredible. He was also in Rockula, which I'd forgotten about.
I had forgotten all about Rockula until you just said the word Rockula out loud.
And he's one of the aliens in Space Invaders.
All the best movies.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Cox has got a great filmography. Like, it's cool dude. I like him. But yeah, so Bill thinks that this must be because the circus is an international affair and there's lots of different nationalities that are part of the circus, that it's probably someone working for the communists selling information. And he's right.
He's right.
And so we get a scene here where Ralph is walking around the circus in his superhero suit, which they never quite figure out. Like, I never understood how it's not a big deal, but I'm also curious how he deals with this in other episodes, because his students show up and see him in the suit and he passes it off as, oh, I'm auditioning as the human I'm the human cannonball. And this is the costume they gave me for that. But like, what does he say in other episodes? Like, that's what I want to know, is like, how does he throw it off? And then one of the plots of the end of the show is that his secret identity is found out, but he's walking around with no mask on and that crazy hair. So everybody would know who he was.
And I know this is before the internet, where you are basically, if no one remembers you, you're basically anonymous the second you're out of sight of somebody. But he's at the zoo. Zoo. He's at, because there's so many animals. He's at the circus in town, which is apparently the most famous circus in the world. Uh-huh. It's enough that not only has his students shown up, but some people from the 1960s have shown up to watch as well through time. So but he's announced as being Ralph Hinckley.
Yeah.
So if you knew who Ralph Hinckley was, you would think, why is a substitute teacher, whom I know as Ralph Hinckley, wearing this costume, and why is he a human cannonball? Uh-huh. He's doing nothing to hide what he's doing. He's supposed to be undercover there, and once again, using his real name.
Yeah.
Everyone just assumes I have to use my real name, except for Biff Anderson's. He should have introduced himself as Biff Anderson number 3.
Yeah, and really thrown them off their game, because they'd be like, "Wait a minute, you're Biff Anderson?"
No, there's Biff. What?
So
you too?
Yeah, he passes it off as I'm going to do this, but he also talks about their test scores, and he wants them to do well in school because they want to, not just to impress him. So he really gives them this nice little motivational speech before he says, I'm going to go get shot out of a cannon now.
I like that he's trying to motivate them in a way, but also he does in a not unearnest way say, maybe you guys just don't got it. When they come and tell him, hey, it's no big deal, we can retake the test. He's like, I can teach you all you want, but maybe you guys just suck.
Yeah, maybe.
They've already reached their 40s and they can't fucking pass a test, a high school test yet. Maybe it's a point where you get to cut bait.
Yeah. But yes, as you mentioned already, they are using some stock footage for the circus that is from the 1960s. It is old and grainy and blurry, and you cannot make out anything.
The crowd looks like something from a Super Nintendo game.
It's so funny when they cut to stuff that they actually shot with their actors in it versus the footage, and it's so different.
It's so funny because this is standard definition show.
Sure.
They did not tape this in advance on high definition film.
No.
It is 4:3 standard definitions. By our standards, even cleaned up for the great Tubi, it's blurry by our standard. It's soft. It's got a glow. And then, but when they cut back to the regular footage from the N64 fog from Turok, it looks fucking sharp enough to cut your finger on.
Yeah. It's we went from 240p footage to high def.
It looks like something filmed on the Nintendo DS blown up to full screen.
So we get now the best character in the episode. So we see Pam, who is also at the circus, and she is with a guy who we learn is named Chuck. And this is a person that she met because of the dating service. The video of hers apparently got out there, and someone called her. And we learn later that she wasn't sure how far she should take this undercover operation, so she just kept it going.
Which at some point it's more of a we forgot to tell you don't have to do anymore.
Yeah, but she decides to go along with it. So she's there with this guy named Chuck, and this guy is great. It's a legitimately funny bit where he is pointing at everything and being very literal about what he is seeing. We see him going, "Hey, that's an elephant." And then we cut to footage of an elephant. And then we see him looking around going, "Man, this sure is a circus."
It goes on, and it gets funnier and funnier. And he keeps trying to ask her, I hear you like boats. I have a boat. You're like, at this point, you're still wondering, like, that's what is going on that they keep, trying to hit on her with the boat stuff. She goes and talks to Bill, and he's like, "Are you sure the guy you're with isn't, undercover or, an agent of something?" And she's like, "No, he's too stupid." And then he shows up and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "Hey, Chuck, where do you live?" And he's like, "I live in a marina." And Bill goes, "That's funny. You can't live in a marina. Where is the marina?" "On the ocean." And he's like, You can't have an apartment on the ocean." And he's like, "Says who?" And Bill goes, "Me and reality." And then he pulls a gun on him. I guess like he's not getting the keyword he wants back. Once again, I'm reading into more than the show wants to give us on this. Like the show doesn't actually give a shit. They just think it's funny.
Once we learn later, so spoiler as well, this is not Chuck. This is Kenny Givers.
Good name.
Or Kenny Givers, I think.
Givers. He should have been called Biff Anderson.
Yeah. Who is also a CIA agent. And I was thinking, like, I like your idea that the boat is some sort of keyword, but then at first I was thinking like, oh, is this some sort of weird kind of like pickup artist type thing? Like talk to women about boats, say their names a bunch because he says her name so many times.
That is a thing though.
It is. But then towards the end of the episode, when the kind of the punchline happens, which is what a fucking punchline, it feels like they are all just like trying to pick this woman up by bragging about the boats that they have.
I feel bad for Ralph. He doesn't have a boat, I don't think. He doesn't have a chance.
So the Vanderlands, they try to kill Ralph here by increasing the PSI of the cannon to a super high amount that will potentially kill him when he's blasted out of it. But they don't count on him having an alien suit that will protect him.
What would happen? Would he have imploded coming out of it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the pressure
just come out as chum.
Yeah, the pressure would have been so high that he would have imploded, and there would be no pieces left to recover. So it doesn't work, of course, because he is blasted out of the roof of the tent and flies many, many miles away and crashes.
Every time he's in the air out of control, Bill's almost dying.
Yeah, that is true.
It is a good combination. It happens. It's a good thing that like Bill has what looks like a cigarette lighter that is a radio. He can talk to the alien suit at any time.
Yeah. So like Ralph flies out somewhere far away. Bill tries to follow the Vanderlands, but he finds that his car has been crushed by the elephant because the elephant apparently likes to sit on red things. So he has to borrow Tony Villacana's car, which is this cool hot rod with flames down the side, in order to chase them.
Hey, forget about it.
And he does tell him, "Hey, be careful with those wheels, eh?" So
you should tell him to stick it up his nose with a hose.
So they head off to the 2-on-a-Match dating service headquarters. And we see that the Vanderlands have the real Biff Anderson with them. They take him inside to this room where there's a bunch of film reels all over the walls, and they start to load up all of those into a bag. And this leads Ralph shows up here, crashes onto the the roof of the building, destroying an antenna, which is pretty funny. And he flies into the building through the wall and proceeds to fight the guys.
It's really, they have a parkour fight, and he seems very confused by this because it's 1982 and parkour isn't in his vocabulary.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of flips and stuff. Pretty good stunts, actually.
He throws him over his shoulder, and in any other episode, this would have take him out in one blow. Instead, they land on their feet.
Yeah, it's pretty good. They do some fun little stuff with it, and good stunts. And then eventually, he almost throws one of the guys out the hole that he broke through the wall, and Bill and Pam catch the other guy who is trying to escape with the bag of film. And they bring them all back in and then reveal that this is actually a CIA records depot where agents go to record all of their debriefings. And apparently the Vanderlands were working for various communist countries to steal CIA agent information.
I would have them debrief somewhere underground. In a mountain.
Yeah, but then you could have a truck with a bunch of missiles on it and an impenetrable shell that could blow up that place and get inside.
No place is safe.
And then they do reveal here what we already mentioned, but that the clown Yuri's dead. He found out about it and they killed him.
Yeah, I mean that's another tie into another show where the person from the beginning scene is supposed to be, we're supposed to be looking for what happened to them, and they're just been dead the entire time.
Yeah, they're dead.
Not mourned, really.
No. And then, so the bad guys are caught. Things are good. And we get our little wrap-up scene here where Bill has been named Agent of the Month and gets put on the cover of Bust and Badge magazine, which to me sounds like a porno magazine for women dressed like cops.
Bust a nut.
Yeah, but it just sounds like a magazine that you would buy at the gas station behind the counter. That would be women in cop uniforms with their boobs out.
You think these thin blue line guys, if they had like a Best Cop of the Month magazine on the fucking newsstands at Kroger, would be like, yeah, get me this shit. This is gonna get me through the cold nights at sea.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
who would buy a Best Cop magazine, especially when these guys are going undercover and they're on the fucking cover of things?
Yeah,
is it interdepartmental or can you go buy it?
I think it is interdepartmental. I think he does mention that it's like an interdepartmental newsletter.
God, like fucking, can you imagine it's 1984 and you're like fucking leafing through your decision if you want to get Time Magazine, Newsweek, this Bust a Nut Cop magazine or Nintendo Power. But who could fucking give a shit about? Anyways, the real punch, that's funny.
Well, and the students get good grades. Apparently, the students did well on their remake tests.
Which is funny because much like a podcast of two people talking over each other, one of the things they keep doing is Bill and Ralph talking over each other about their personal lives and their professional lives, and neither giving a shit the other person's saying.
Yeah, they're just talking to talk.
And so this is all pretty funny considering the ending is just basically like, hey, you spent 50 minutes to stumble upon something that you didn't even have a clue was the actual going on here.
Yeah.
You just happened, you didn't solve a problem. You just happened to walk in on a problem.
Yes, you found a problem where you
found a problem
where you were looking.
Yeah, you're like, okay, that's the funny ending. No, there's one more rejoinder for our good friend Pam.
Yeah, it's weird because while they're talking over each other about their situations, about how Bill is so excited to be on Bust and Badge, and Ralph is so excited that his students did well. Pam gets a weird phone call, and I'm like, oh, is this like a setup for another episode? Like, oh, did her mom die or something? Or did something bad happen and now we have to deal with it on the next time? Because I know this wasn't like a serialized show, but clearly there was some sort of through line story because of the costume and all the alien stuff that we learn about later. But no, she gets a weird phone call and she was like, oh, how did you get this number? And then it turns out that it's Kenny Givers, the fake Chuck, who we talked about earlier, who is also a CIA agent. And apparently all of the CIA agents are hounding her because they saw her tape and they are constantly trying to get her to go on dates with them.
It's so, and they act like, yeah, it's what the CIA agents are so, once they get, they're like bulldogs. Once they get their teeth into something, they won't let go. It's like, wow, they're invading her privacy because they find her hot.
Yeah,
I bet that happens more often than we thought.
It's real fucked up because the guy from the fake dating service that she met earlier, who was a real creep to her, just shows up at her house and walks in the door and goes,
it wasn't an ad.
Here?
Yeah, like it wasn't an act. It was a cover, but he was actually trying to get laid.
Yeah, it's incredibly fucked up and awful. Like,
it's a very awful thing to happen to a very likable character, or any character. You could be unlikable. That shouldn't happen to you.
Yeah,
her life is essentially ruined.
Yeah, it's
until next episode.
It's terrible, but I think, but that is the end of this episode. Just Another Three-Ring Circus, The Greatest American Hero. So we need to give our little final thoughts, and we need to rate this on our scale of weirdness.
You go first, because I've been going first recently.
Oh, okay. I think that it's not like, I guess the premise is pretty weird. The idea of aliens giving this guy a super suit.
It's Green Lantern.
It is kind of Green Lantern. You're right.
And they got sued by DC Comics.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's interesting. Like it is funny because when you look through some of the other episode descriptions, it looks like they really do try to build a theme out of it, and like kind of get to, when they get to the end, they try to do a spinoff with a lady called The Greatest American Heroine, which I guess was just a TV movie. And which is, I think, is kind of interesting. It's I guess Bill Maxwell is also in that.
I'm angry that the suit user is now a woman.
Yeah,
a woman.
And yeah, he's angry about it. Which is pretty funny.
Which reading about him, like, that's really rude. But then also Bill's mad about everything, having watched the show.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that just the premise of it alone for 1980s is pretty out there. The episode is pretty funny and pretty good. And I think that, this rating system is just kind of bullshit. So it's just whatever we think of the episode. So if I'm just going to grade it on a how much did I enjoy this episode, I think I'm going to give it an 8.
I'm like, enjoyment level, which we'll call weird. It's the same word now.
Yeah.
In our lexicon, because we now have our own canon. About an 8.
Also, there's a moment where they break into the room where the tapes are that they're trying to steal, where they knock this security guard off over the desk, which is so funny.
I was going to mention that, like we don't get a lot in this episode of the premise is that he doesn't know how to use the suit because he doesn't have the instruction manual. And because it's season 2, we see him mostly be able to use a lot of the powers very seamlessly, except land. Also, his students should be like, why the fuck aren't you turned to chum by that? Like, how are you still alive after you got shot a country mile out of the building? You're a normal human being, right? But like the every time he smashes through a wall by mistake, and that character getting hit over the table by them breaking in the room, it is so funny. There's something about the pace of the show that when something happens very loud and suddenly, it works. It's very funny. And I think it really comes down to the chemistry of the actors, the main actors, being so goofy and so loud and so like mismatched. It works. That part would work at any time. And I don't like that. That shows like you can make something that's really of its time, but if you cast things correctly and you avoid certain words, which I don't in one word in this episode, you can have something that just kind of like just works. And I thought this, for something that is considered so 80s and the song is so easy listening and all this stuff, it's so of its time. It really wasn't of its time at all, especially where we like now have superhero shows all the fucking time.
Yeah. No, I dug it. I thought it was pretty fun. Because this is the week of American Independence Day of July 4th. How does it rank on the American meter?
The Amerimeter?
Yeah.
They did stop the Russians.
That's true.
Usually, current times we aren't actively going one-on-one against them. We have our proxies, or they're fighting themselves.
Yeah. We've got our secret coups that that old man Biden is leading.
Sleepy Joe is he's both incompetently old and yet his fingers are in every pot. But you know, we have him taken down the Ruskies for our boys in CIA colors.
Yeah, exactly.
So we got cops on magazine covers. What more American thing could you want?
That's right.
A clown dies.
That's right. Yeah, we kill a clown. We put a cop on a magazine cover. We stop the Russians. It's great.
4th of July, we're gonna have a lot of carnivals. I'm just saying right now.
It's very, very American. But I think that's going to do it for this special patriotic episode of Center of Weirdness. When we come back next time, we'll be wrapping up our, at least starting the wrap up of the Summer Night series, talking about the return of Goliath and Garth on Knight Rider. But we wanted to have a little fun break to celebrate the holiday. Talk about something that's very pro-American, and I think we did it this week.
The greatest, really. If you would think
yes,
about
exactly. No one is a greater American hero than Ralph Hinckley, the guy who tried to kill Reagan. Which I don't think we mentioned, but you found there was a little note that they changed that character's name because John Hinckley Jr. tried to kill Reagan.
I think it's so funny because on its face value, that's so stupid. But a lot of things do stuff like that. Like if a mass shooter, and speaking of America, mass shooting has like a last name of something like that, like a fresh, like WWE, if they have a minor character who has the same last name, they'll suddenly drop it.
Yeah,
and it's because of SEO. They don't want people looking up that last name. Back then, I assume it's just because they figured people were stupid.
Yeah, they're like, I'm not going to watch a show about a guy who killed Reagan.
I'm going to go throw eggs at this place that sells Corona beer.
I'm going to go throw eggs at the studio that releases Greatest American Hero.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, ABC. I mean, they're already, well, that kind of makes sense because they were already protesting outside of Disney earlier this year, so it's all the same.
It's all the same.
But until next time, like I said, when we're back talking about Knight Rider once again, I've been Josh.
I've been Biff Anderson.
And we want you to keep it weird out there for this American holiday season. Now I'm going to go crack open the brand new issue of Bustin' Badge magazine.
You don't want to be black and blue nuts any longer.
That's right. You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like this show, rate and review us wherever you find it, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all of the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Twitter at WeirdCenter. As always, thanks for listening.
Baby,